Before you begin, adjust your phone headphones, keep walking, or relax in your place and let the story take you to a world you won't believe is real. Because what we will narrate today is not a horror movie, nor a fictional novel, but a bloody reality that took place in the heart of Southeast Asia, in a small country called Cambodia, where the dream of freedom turned into an unbearable human nightmare. The story of a dictator who knew no mercy and a revolutionary movement that claimed liberation but ignited the fire of hell upon an entire people. It is Pol Pot, the leader of the Khmer Rouge, who did not only kill, but erased from the face of the earth nearly a quarter of his country's population. When hell becomes reality. Imagine a country where schools disappear, hospitals are shut down, temples are demolished. No money, no enough food, no rights, no name for you, only a number. Cities emptied of their residents, streets turning silent, fields stretching endlessly, filled with millions of exhausted people, working until death. This is not a post-apocalyptic world. This was the reality of Cambodia under the rule of the Khmer Rouge between 1975 and 1979. In those 4 dark years, Pol Pot, the man who did not read Marx well, indeed who was ignorant of his theories, turned his country into a laboratory of terror. He was not fighting colonialism, but fighting modernity, education, medicine, religion, and even the family itself. His dream? A purely agricultural state, without cities, without classes, without corruption. But his path to this dream was covered with the blood of 1.7 to 2.2 million people. Hell in the name of revolution, Saloth Sar, the real name of Pol Pot, was born into a well-off family in the Cambodian countryside. He studied in France in the 1950s, where he was introduced to Marxism, but he was never a deep thinker. He returned to Cambodia, joining a secret Marxist-Leninist movement, which met secretly to study socialist theories and organize resistance against French colonialism. But the movement, which later evolved into the Khmer Rouge, was fundamentally different from Marx's thought. Marx expected a revolution led by factory workers, but Pol Pot saw urban workers as a corrupt class and believed the true revolution must be led by peasants in the countryside. In the 1960s, violence escalated in Cambodia. The U.S. intervened in Vietnam, and the war spilled over into Cambodia. Random American bombings created massive popular anger, which the Khmer Rouge exploited to attract fighters. While the weak royal government was collapsing, Pol Pot was building an army of hungry peasants who believed he would liberate them from poverty and colonialism. And in April 1975, the Khmer Rouge forces entered Phnom Penh, the capital of Cambodia, and occupied it. The next day, Pol Pot ordered the complete evacuation of the city, not a temporary evacuation, but leaving everything: houses, furniture, medicine, photos, books, everything. Millions of residents, including the sick, the elderly, and children, were forced to march long distances to the villages under the threat of weapons. Those who stumbled or tried to return were killed on the spot. The reign of terror had begun. Life under the Khmer Rouge. Under Khmer Rouge rule, there were no more schools, no hospitals, no religions, no families. Marriage was no longer official, but organized by the state. Children no longer belonged to their parents, but to the revolution. Medicine was abolished, considered bourgeois magic. Those who fell sick, left to die or killed. Those who could read, executed because reading meant the danger of independent thought. Pol Pot created a system built on fear. Everyone was watched by their neighbor, and every family was forced to report enemies. And enemies, in his eyes, included anyone who studied abroad, anyone wearing glasses because they indicated education, anyone who worked in the previous government, anyone from the middle or upper classes, anyone from ethnic minorities like the Chinese, Vietnamese, or Cham Muslims. In S-21, the prison of death in Phnom Penh, more than 14,000 people were tortured and all of them killed. Their photos still exist. Innocent faces, eyes filled with fear, before their lives were ended by a blow of a knife or a hammer. Why knives? Because Pol Pot insisted on saving bullets. Victims were forced to dig their own graves, then killed with axes, sickles, or even sticks. And the most horrifying? Those forced to carry out these crimes were not always trained soldiers, but simple peasants, coerced into killing under threat of death. The system was destroying conscience, turning humans into killing machines. How did the world miss this tragedy? Although some reports reached the West, many did not believe them. Journalists could not enter, diplomats were expelled, and the regime was completely isolated, rejecting any contact with the outside world. But in 1978, Pol Pot's sin began. He attacked Vietnam, thinking the war would unite the people behind him. But the gamble failed. In 1979, the Vietnamese army invaded Cambodia, destroyed the Khmer Rouge forces. Pol Pot fled to the jungle, living in isolation, surrounded by the remnants of his fighters in camps along the Thai border. Cambodia remained devastated, but the Khmer Rouge lost power. As for Pol Pot, he lived his last years in the mountains, suffering from illness, until he died in 1998, without ever being tried. But in 2014, after decades, some Khmer Rouge leaders were tried and sentenced to death, later commuted to life imprisonment. Conclusion: can this nightmare return? 2.2 million dead? In a country of no more than 8 million people, a quarter of the population, killed in just 4 years. Not because of war, but because of a mad idea in the name of revolutionary purity. The question we pose to you today: can the era of totalitarian dictatorships return again? And are we learning from history or repeating the same mistakes in the name of justice or liberation? Share your opinion in the comments. Was Pol Pot merely insane, or was it the world through its interventions that created this monster? And what role did the major powers play in supporting or ignoring this tragedy? If this story affected you, don't forget, press the like button. It helps us spread the truth. Subscribe to the Facts channel to be the first to see the hidden stories of history, dictatorships, and conspiracies. Share the video because many don't know that hell really happened in Cambodia. The truth may be harsh, but it is necessary, and without your support, we cannot continue exposing it. Thank you for watching, and see you in a new story from Facts.